You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den, episode 24 with Carol Allen. Understanding the communication gap between men and women and how to avoid it. Ladies, welcome back into my dating den, which is always the place for the most inspirational, badass people. And I love it when it is an inspirational, badass woman. And so I am excited to have my friend Carol Allen in the den today. Woo, woo. She, first of all, she's like literally the nicest person on the planet, literally. And she's also a Vedic astrologer and a relationship coach. We tell this story all the time, so I'm not going to tell it here. But she literally is, I think, partially responsible for Jeremy and I getting married. So,
Yay!
So listen to what she says. Carol is super famous. She gets around. She's been on like a bunch of my tele-summits. She's Daily Candy called her cooler than karma. I love that. Dr. Drew called her advice profound on national television. And we've been friends for a really, really long time. And she is unequivocally the real deal. And she cares. And I think that, you know, in this age of like, you know, internet stuff and, you know, quick fix stuff, Carol is literally not only like an incredible, giving, generous woman, but she literally cares about every single person that she works with. So,
oh my God, you're killing me over here.
But
I'm
it's
crying.
true. But it's true. It's
Okay,
so
it's
true.
Well, best of all, we share cats. So there's that.
We do share cats. And actually, I left the door open by mistake, and little Fergus Brown is here as if he knew that his Auntie Carol was on. So we have Fergus Brown in the dating den also, who is like the little schnookie of my life. I literally went on Snapchat last night, and I do remember, you're old enough to remember that song. What's it called? You Light Up My Life?
Yes.
You give me joy to carry. Yes. So I sang You Light Up My Life to Fergus Brown. So thank you for that, Carol Allen. So if you need a cat, Carol's your person also.
Yeah, Trinity is all for that song.
Exactly.
She's all for it.
So, anywho, we go on tangents here in the den. Carol has been an astrologer for over 2 decades. I think I met at her birthday party, like her best friend from when you were like, what, 20? And you said like, I want to read your chart. And so... Yeah, so she's epic. And today we're going to talk about communication. And what I love about what Carol does is she's really looks at, you know, you as an individual. Her whole philosophy is like your inborn nature. There's like this prescription and map of what works for you. And I think that we are so goal oriented and we want to find like the magic pill and we want it to work for us. And so I'm really grateful that you're on sort of my same page, which is we're all different humans and we all, you know, there's basic concepts and precepts that we need to know, but like we're also individuals. So
right, because a magic bullet for you will shoot you to the moon and a magic bullet for someone else will just shoot them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So well said. Okay. Right. So let's talk about communication between men and women. Mm-hmm. And I am so curious, like, what is up? Why are you wanting to deep dive into this topic these days?
You know, it's so basic and so fundamental, and relationship studies really say what Grandma said, that it's the most important thing in a relationship. And you can turn around a bad thing and you can ruin a good thing by how you're communicating. So it's the special sauce. It's the Jedi power.
And wait, you've been married for how many years? Like 20 something, right?
20 this year, but I've known him 27. When I met him, he was 27 and now he's 54. Isn't that crazy?
That is so crazy. He's still as hunky as ever.
Well,
BTW.
I think he actually I think he looks better than ever because his little midlife crisis made him start going to the gym every day. And so he's gotten super hot.
Meow, 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 as they say. So have you noticed that everyone's like Googling now to try and find a picture of your hot husband? Have you seen like your relationship shift from the way that you communicate? I mean, do you see it in your own life?
Well, you know what's so great? I am absolute living proof of this because we were together when I was young without any skills or any clue. And I screwed it up and he participated, I will say. And then we broke up for 4 long, lonely years and got back together after I had learned some mad communication skills. And the difference between what we were like before and what we were like after was staggering and is absolutely the reason we've made it this far. So absolutely. And I see this all the time with clients and I teach this stuff and it's so much fun. I mean, from working with people, we absolutely love when our clients get results. So anyone that thinks we do this for the money or the attention, we could be selling real estate. Okay. Marni would be so rich if she was selling real estate. Right?
That's so funny. Maybe.
Yeah. So you're so sweet to say that I care, but you totally care too. We do this because we absolutely love this and we want the world to have more love. And so it's so much fun when clients come back and give us feedback. So I had a woman literally tell me last week that she made 10 times the money in the last year by the new tricks in communication that I taught her at a workshop that she now uses with her male clients. She actually said she made 10 times the money. So that's the kind of stuff I hear from people. I don't just hear great romantic stories. I hear great work stories, great parenting stories, great friendship stories, great coworker stories. So good communication skills affect every area of your life.
I love that. And I'm going to make a cat reference just because it's you. You know how like when your cat looks at you or meows and you make up a story about what it means?
I don't have to make up a story. I know exactly what it means. What's the point?
Exactly, right? And so I think that we do this with people. They look at us a certain way or they've always looked at us that certain way. And so we think that's what it means. But it doesn't. Right. You have to be totally engaged in the process. So,
right.
Okay, so let's talk about the differences. Tell us why. I mean, obviously men and women are different, but how does that impact the way that we communicate? And why do we need to know that?
Okay. So the biggest complaint women have about men is what?
Besides that there are no quality men, is that they flake, they disappear.
They shut down.
Yeah, they don't want what we want.
And they don't talk to us, right? Yeah. Women say that all the time, like, he never tells me anything. He never tells me anything. And so one of the major differences between men and women is women tell everybody everything. Women are talkers. We're built for it. We're wired for it. We live for it. And men tend to be far more quiet. And it's been found that they use 1/3 the words and sounds to communicate in a day that we do. And so just a super basic fact of life is that men only have so many words in a day and women have 3 times as many. And so if you're trying to get a guy to tell you something, odds are he might be really low on words or out of words. And so it's that much more important that you entice him in a way that makes him feel completely safe to tell you what you're asking for or share. Women think that sharing should just naturally, effortlessly happen because it's how we are with each other.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
But men actually have to really trust you and know you and feel comfortable with you. And so oftentimes, even when we're married to them, and this, right? Totally. We'll be amazed at what they suddenly tell us that they've been thinking for months or years. We'll be like, what? I had no idea that was going on. Right? And
totally.
So we have to create a really, really safe atmosphere. And there's a few problems. So women naturally tell each other everything and share everything as a group. Now, obviously, there's different women among us who are more private and more quiet, but as a group, we tend to be much more communicative. The other thing, though, is we also tend to be much more people pleasing. You know, we're wired to not get killed by men, right?
Right.
We all have these cave woman brains, and the cave woman brain says, don't upset the guy or he might kill you, or he might take away your woolly mammoth and you might starve, right? So one of the challenges is we're naturally designed to people please. And so we tend to not tell people the truth until our hair is on fire. Like if we feel like something we're going to say will cause a conflict, we won't say it. And we'll pretend we don't feel it. And this is the classic situation where a man says to a woman, what's wrong? And the woman says, nothing.
Right.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right. And so we don't say anything and we don't communicate until our hair is on fire. And then we've either gone into one of two modes. We've either become needy and clingy, like I call that the Bambi mode.
Yeah.
Or we become bitchy banshees, and I call that the banshee mode, right?
Yep.
And so we either get aggressive or we get really needy and clingy, and both are repulsive to men, and both tend to take men by surprise because we've been running around going like, I'm fine, everything's great, no, I'm good, right? And then we suddenly hit him like a ton of bricks with our need or our rage. And this is why men tend to say women are crazy.
Right. Or there's a lot of drama, and we're just like sitting on it for so long. And I think what you said about women talking to women is there's like a false sense that we have spoken about it because we've complained about it or shared it with our friends, like almost to like release the pressure.
Right.
But then ultimately your hair does catch fire and you have to speak. This, I have to just tell you a funny little incident regarding this is that last night I was literally laying in bed with Jeremy. It was like 10 o'clock and we're getting ready to go to sleep. And I'm pretty sure he used up all his words because I was like, so tell me what happened. I haven't seen you in like 4 days because I was working at this retreat. And he's like, can you not ask me that question literally right before we're going to sleep? And I was like, I just want to feel connected, right? Because that's how I feel connected is through words.
Right.
And so he was like, well, here's the thing. Let's talk about it, tomorrow during the day. And then I want to talk to you about it. But it's that same thing, right? Like I had this expectation of wanting connection and he used up his words. And luckily I didn't take it personally. And, I didn't go, fine, whatever, you're not interested, which is part of the making up stories thing that women do.
Right.
When our hair is on fire and they start running the other way.
Well, and he was probably thinking, oh my gosh, I get to hold her. She's here.
Yes.
And that's how he wanted to connect, maybe, was to just have that physical contact. And, my husband's so cute. We're very snuggly. And he'll say to me, assume the position. And that means like wrap around him. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Totally. Assume the position. Sleeping position.
It's really cute. I love it. So, yeah. So my main suggestion to women is to, there's passive, which is when we don't say the truth and we wait and we burst, right? And then there's aggressive, which is when we're bursting. But in the middle is assertive. And so I want women to be more assertive, but in a lighter, more respectful way so that men don't feel talked down to, but they also don't feel like you're not being yourself or you're withholding, right? Because when we withhold, when we do that, I'm fine, everything's good, whatever you want, darling. What we're actually doing is making the man more important than us and putting his status ahead of ours and putting his feelings ahead of ours. And what happens, ladies, when you put a man's feelings ahead of yours is then he will too. You've actually modeled for him how to treat you, right? And so it's actually really attractive when we're assertive and when we tell men what we want and when we tell men what's really going on with us. But when we do it in a non-like victim or, banshee way. And that is really, and it communicates status and confidence and authenticity, and it lets men trust you, and it makes them feel, it makes them feel good. So
I love that.
Even if you think it's going to create a conflict, it's better than the other options. So
I read this study and I can't remember for the life of me where I read it, but it was something like that. If you don't speak up for your needs, then a man assumes that he's going to have to take care of you, like take care of your needs, and that is not attractive. So that when you are able to be assertive, it's actually sending a signal to the guy that says, oh, she can take care of her needs. So I won't be 100% responsible, to be her, her moon, her stars, and her earth. I just said that because it's you. And so
I love that.
Yeah, right. So it's like, and I think that I know when I was dating without dignity, I was the queen of like, I'm cool, it's fun, no worries, whatever. And it's literally like sending a message that is not the message that we want to send. And I think women have this big limiting belief that like the more low maintenance I am, the more he's going to love me. And so what Carol's saying is, abort ship. That is not the plan.
Well, and the flip side is, and we have friends that write and talk about this really beautifully. Men do want the cool girl who's fun and easy and like affable and happy. And that is also true. But that's about basic, boring stuff like where he takes you to eat. And,
right.
If he takes you to a movie later than you normally stay up. And like, don't make everything a big deal is what that message is. But when it's really about a need that you have, to speak to what you said, or when it's really about something important to you, don't minimize your needs and your feelings. Like, be a real person, but pick your battles, make it about stuff that actually matters, and stuff that doesn't matter. Do try to let that stuff go, because, everybody's back is up lately, Marni, I don't need to tell you. And the internet and all these apps that we have and online dating and all these amazing ways we have access to each other also make us all feel overwhelmed with options and overwhelmed with access. And so people are more looking for what's wrong than what's right. And so if you're dealing with somebody and you're not being authentic, or you're being like too authentic about every little thing, they're going to go home and somebody will have swiped them, right? And
yes,
they might be gone. So it's finding that right balance. But then I will tell you, as an astrologer, I also really believe you can't script the wrong thing, and you can't make work,
right.
You can't make work the wrong thing. And so if it's right, it's gonna work. And yes, I blew it with my husband and he went off into the sunset, but he also was thinking of me the whole time and came back. And you're so sweet to credit me with helping you and Jeremy, but you had 4 perfect years with Jeremy before I had one conversation with you that you found helpful.
That is true, but here's the thing. Okay, so I think maybe we could segue by this. So you said there's alpha females and beta females. And so I have a guess about what I am and why I think you helped me, but I can tell that later. So what's the diff? And how do I know? And like, is there, like the path you follow if you're more alpha or if you're more beta? So teach me about that.
Well, it's the whole masculine and feminine thing. And so the thing about communicating too is knowing who you're dealing with, right? So if you had said to Jeremy last night, oh, tell me about your day, and he was always really chatty, and he was like super like air signs and a Gemini and like loved to talk at night, and it was like your nighttime ritual, and then he had said, don't ask me that right now, let's talk about it tomorrow, it would have meant something, right?
Right.
So one of the things that actually makes relationships get easier with time, people say, oh my God, 20 years, how do you do it? It's so much easier in the 20th year than it was in the first 3.
That's exciting. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, because I know him so well, right? And I know what sets him off, and I know what makes him happy, and I know how he thinks, and I know what he responds to. And so knowing who you're dealing with. And so usually energetically, people are with their complement. And so if you are more of a now I talk about betas and alphas, and, a beta is more of a person that's here to be, and that's more mellow, chill, easygoing, maybe not super proactive, maybe not super go get 'em, right? And an alpha person is more like direct to the point, go get it, ambitious, driven, and dominant, right? So you've got the person that's more the leader, and then you have the person that's more the follower. Well, guess what? We have different areas of our lives. So there's who we are emotionally, there's who we are, behaviorally, there's who we are professionally, there's who we are intellectually. And sometimes someone that's very alpha in their behavior is actually totally like sensitive and emotional in their feelings. And so you really are happiest with someone who compliments you in the different ways you are, right?
Yes.
And that can be extremely helpful with communication. Extremely helpful. So like my husband, just to bore them all some more with my husband is he's like a total dude. He's from Texas. He only had brothers. His father was like from Oklahoma and was a car salesman. I mean, my husband's like a dude, right? So emotionally, he's much more the dude, but he's also way more easygoing and mellow and calm than I am. And he needs more rest and he needs more downtime and he's more sensitive to the world. And so during the day, I get done probably like 3 times as much. Okay. So, but he never comes to me and goes, I don't know what to do. What do you think? Like he never brings me that more beta emotional side, but I do to him, right? And so we're like a weird hybrid of like alpha and beta behaviors and feelings, and that's how most people are, right? So none of us is all one or the other. So like, you and Jeremy, like you are this very strong, very entrepreneurial, very high energy, dynamic, powerful woman. And he's this very supportive, very loving, very attractive, very like his energy is very soothing, right? Yes. So you guys actually really remind me in that way of me and my husband.
Totally.
Right?
Well, and the other thing you said is 100% true. Like I process things quickly. I get a lot of shit done, and he's just got his own sort of more chill way, and his needs are totally different. And so, yeah, but he would never also come to me and say like, how can you help me with this? But I'm always going to him for that kind of support.
And it's very confusing. I dated another guy a million years ago who was very studly and like was a bodybuilder and was tall. And, he called me every morning and said, I don't know what to do about this. What do you think? Right. And I wanted to kill him. That's what I thought. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Because he wasn't being his own man. Right. And, So, and that isn't necessarily, by the way, a beta or an alpha thing. That can also be an insecurity thing. But yeah, so if a guy is more like a sweetie pie, heart-centered, sensitive, chill guy, then you want to communicate with him from feelings more. You want to be more, you want to speak his language, right? And if a guy is totally go, 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 do, to-do list, Action Jackson, then you want to talk more that way with him. And so it's just about figuring out who a guy is. And in a conflict, back to communication, you always want to ask yourself, like, whose need is greater? Like, who is having the bigger issue with the conflict? And if it's the guy, then if you might have to cater to his feelings. And then if there's another conflict where you're more in need or it's more important to you, then he should really cater to yours. And that's getting into sort of a higher level of stuff. But, my husband is such a dude, but when he's really upset, it really catches my attention and I go, oh, okay. He's really upset. How can I honor his feelings and support what he's feeling right now?
Totally. And I think that actually is the segue to the how did you help me, was that when Jeremy and I broke up, I was totally going at it as that alpha. And he was in a moment where he needed, like, I needed to like cater to his language where he was emotionally instead of where I was, which was very much like, nah, 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 and if you can't, nah, nah. And your coaching really was like, who is he? Where is he now? What does he really need? And so then I went into the conversation, right? I went into the communication with that. And then that totally made his heart sing because he felt heard and understood. And so there is no cookie cutter, right? So you also have to be self-aware
Right.
and aware of others.
Yeah, it's so sad sometimes. I had this couple one time where she was totally alpha to the point where she literally never chills. Like she never just watches TV practically with her husband, right? She's just such a, maniac of activity. And her husband is this just very sweet, sensitive, heart-centered guy because that's usually who likes each other. Like that's usually that yin-yang complementary thing, right? Like we busy babes get so soothed by these more mellow men. We just do. And they keep like my husband's out of town right now and my head's exploding because I don't have his soothing comfort, right? So anyway, they had a conflict that he had never felt that she really got it for years. He had never really felt, and it was like a sticking point for him. It was like this wound that wouldn't heal. And they had both talked with me about it. And finally, I gave her a script. I just said, here's what you say. And every single thing was emotional. It was like, if I could get in a time machine, if I could turn back the clock, I would never do that thing. If I'd known it would hurt you so much, it hurts my heart so much that your heart got broken. Like I gave her this huge emotional script and it was all true for her. I never tell people to lie, right? It was all true, but it was just said in a way that she would have never said it. And she went to him and said it, and he was so blown away. And he actually called me and said, "You'll never believe what she said." And he read back to me the script that I'd given her. And it was very hard to not say, "That's incredible. What a genius. How did she come up with that?" Right? It was hard not to take credit for the words. But it was so gratifying because it created that bridge between his past pain and their future dreams. And they went on to have another kid, and they went on to, they just celebrated their 30th anniversary.
Aww.
And, and it really got them through the hardest conflict of their relationship. So it's powerful stuff. So it's again, be assertive, ladies, tell the truth, right? In a respectful, loving, non-judgmental way, right?
Yep.
And then talk to the person you're with in a way that they can hear, like consider who they are and talk to them that way.
Yeah, right. Like be present. There are no like exact rules. You have to be in the context of the situation and who you're with.
Yeah, I know a lot of alpha girls, right? And I had a conflict with a friend once, and she was hurt and I was hurt, and I would always go to her with more emotional language, and it would never get me anywhere. And finally, I just sent her an email. I was like, "Look, here's what happened. Here's why it happened. Here's what you said. Here's what I said. Here's how I screwed up. I'm totally sorry. Let's move on." And she loved it. Like I just did that, like to the point, clipped, direct, like took responsibility. Bada bing, no emotion, no drama. And it was like talking to a guy, right?
This is brilliant. Oh my God. This is so brilliant. And I just have to say this because I know a lot of women who struggle with this at work when they have bosses that are women versus men. Right. And they're like, I am so confused. Okay. I have to ask you one last question before we go. Because this is one of those like, it's just like a killer. I can't wait to hear the answer. Maybe we already answered it. I don't know. There's a certain communication that sends men running to the hills. And by the way, I've heard this like so much, like running to the hills. So apparently there's a lot of men running in the hills. So if you want to meet men, go to the hills. So they're running into the hills. What is it? I say it all the time. Put on their Nikes and run into the hills. How can we avoid it? What is it? What is like this trap that sends them away?
I think it's when your hair's on fire. That's the thing that makes men freak out the most. And John Gray always talks about like approach and timing, right? So if a guy's already had a bad day, maybe talk to him tomorrow, right? Kind of like what you went through last night. So men really freak out when we're freaking out. And they want to push away when we come at them so blinded by our own need or our own issue. And so the more you can treat a guy like you're on the same side and you're on the same team and like he's not in trouble, it's when we go to men and they're in trouble.
Yeah.
That they run for the exits, right?
Yeah.
And head for the hills. I wonder where that started, that heading for the hills.
I don't know,
Maybe.
but we should take a bunch of single women to the hills.
Yeah, because that's where all the quality men apparently are.
And they're running. Maybe they're running like in Calvin Klein boxer briefs. I don't know. we should go look. And then there's a bunch of women surrounding them with their hair on fire. That's a meme. So Carol, I love you, and I think you are brilliant.
Love you too, and Fergus.
And Fergus, and I have to admit, I did take a picture of Fergus. I'm going to send it to you when we're done.
Yay! I can't wait.
Fergus was naughty. He was like, "When bitch be cray, I'm not down."
Well, you know those redheads, they're the most sensitive.
Exactly. You're so awesome, ladies. You want to go find more about Carol. She has this really, really cool report. It's called the Right Man Report. I mean,
Whoop, whoop.
How can you not have that? So you can get access to it in the show notes. You just want to know her. You want to smush on her. You want to hear her, read her stuff, follow her everywhere you can online, because she is just a shining light of joy and brilliance. And so,
my God, Marni.
It's true. I'm sorry. I just love her. I love Carol. I love Carol.
I love you too, honey. I'm so grateful. I wish you lived next door.
I know. We would be so good neighbors.
That would be fun. That would be trouble.
That would be trouble. Well, maybe you can look sometime in the charts and see if we ever live next door to each other. Oh, and then Bill and Jeremy can be quiet together.
They can go chill.
Exactly. They can go chill. All right, ladies, thank you so much for being in the den. Carol, thanks for being here. And ladies,
thank you.
Don't forget, date with dignity. Talk to you soon. Bye.